In the movie Son of a Rich, a spoiled rich kid thinks he is above everyone else. After an accident, he wakes up in a strange world where he is no longer wealthy. He faces hard times and learns that life is not easy for those without money. Will he change his selfish ways or will he stay the same? At the start of the movie, a spoiled rich kid named Grisha returned from a club when he saw his car being towed away. He got very angry and ran after the tow truck, shouting at the driver. Sadly, he had an accident and passed out. Later, a man named Artyom, who wore simple clothes, woke him up in a stable. Artyom kept telling Grisha to take the horse to the Lord. Grisha looked confused because he wore similar clothes and did not understand what was happening. Soon, a man named Avdej came and pulled Grisha outside. He hit Grisha for not saddling the horse as the Lord had ordered. After a while, the Lord came out and asked Grisha why he hadn't prepared the horse. Grisha thought it was a joke, so he tried to be rude but ended up getting whipped badly. Despite this, the Lord decided to give Grisha another chance to get the horse. But Grisha, feeling proud, threatened them with his dad's power and tried to run away, thinking it was all a prank. However, the world around him felt too real, and the people seemed too believable. Grisha soon realized that he was a poor serf in a small village in the Russian Empire. It was summer in 1860, just 6 months before serfdom ended. Serfs were the poorest of the peasants and were like slaves. Lords owned the serfs, and in return, these poor people worked hard on the land. Eventually, the Lord's men caught Grisha and dragged him away to hang him for trying to escape. Even when facing danger, he arrogantly demanded to see a lawyer until he saw another peasant hanging dead from a rope. At that moment, Grisha changed completely and begged for forgiveness. Grisha, who had been spoiled all his life, was not used to being threatened. He began to remember his old life. Grisha was a 27-year-old spoiled son of a Russian billionaire named Pavel. He was loud, arrogant, and rude to everyone. The movie then rewound a few days, showing Grisha at a club trying to impress a beautiful girl named Anfisa. Later, while in his fancy car, Grisha asked Anfisa for oral sex. When she said no, he kicked her out of the car and drove home. On the way, he drove too fast, and a police car appeared to pull him over. Surprisingly, the spoiled brat was not scared of the police and tried to get away at first. But when the officer threatened to use his weapon, Grisha had to stop. Grisha was used to bribing police to escape trouble. He tried to do it again, but the new officer refused the money. Instead, the officer climbed onto the hood of the car to stop it. Grisha did not care and kept speeding, even after the officer told him to stop. Eventually, they crashed, and the police officer got badly hurt. Grisha was taken to jail, and his father, Pavel, came to the police station. The station chief, a friend of Pavel, reminded him of all the laws Grisha had broken that month. The chief said it was the last time he would help, because Grisha had gone too far. Grisha had seriously hurt the police officer, breaking his ribs and pelvic bones. But even with everything happening, Grisha felt no guilt or regret. It finally hit Pavel that Grisha would keep being reckless and dangerous, thinking his rich father would always save him from trouble. After paying to get Grisha out, Pavel told him to get his life together and threatened to block all his credit cards. However, Grisha was not scared of his father's threats. Instead, he mocked Pavel for being a greedy man. Before leaving, he warned his father to watch out for his competitors, because they might try to take his business. Tired of his son's rude and careless behavior, Pavel started looking for a way to make Grisha better. He went to meet his TV producer and friend with benefits, Anastasia. She quickly suggested that he meet her old business client, Lev Arnoldovich, who was a strange psychologist. Anastasia, or Anna, explained that although Arnoldovich had unusual methods that might seem cruel and shocking, he usually got results. Pavel was doubtful about the plan, but since he had no other choices, he decided to try it. Soon after, when they arrived at the psychologist's creepy workspace, Pavel was shocked to find Arnoldovich hanging from a rope. However, it turned out to be an illusion. Arnoldovich mostly created elaborate sets for TV and film companies. He also used his skills to help clients by making realistic but fake scenarios. He explained that he was working on a project where his client wanted to fake hanging himself to test his wife's loyalty. Anna shared Pavel's problem with Arnoldovich. But before Arnoldovich could come up with a plan, Pavel started to doubt the strange man's methods. Fortunately, Anna convinced him to at least listen to the plan. The scene then changed to Grisha coming out of a club. He saw his car being towed and ran after the tow truck, yelling at the driver. Unfortunately, while doing this, he got into what looked like an accident and passed out. The movie then jumped to the present, where Grisha was about to be hanged. Luckily for him, Aglaya, the Lord's daughter, arrived. Aglaya was a kind and caring girl, and she told the Lord's right-hand man, Avde, and her brother, Alexei, to stop the hanging. However, they refused right away. Soon the noise caught the attention of the Lord himself. It happened to be Aglaya's birthday, and she begged her father to stop the execution as a birthday gift. The Lord, who loved his daughter very much, agreed to her wish, much to everyone's annoyance. Meanwhile, Grisha was still trying to understand everything and couldn't find the words to thank Aglaya for saving his life. In the sky, a vulture that wanted to eat Grisha's flesh flew away in disappointment toward a wind turbine far away. Surprisingly, it was discovered that the bird was actually a drone, and the whole 19th century village was a clever creation of Anastasia and the psychologist, Arnoldovich, funded by Pavel's money. Furthermore, the accident that Grisha experienced was set up by his father, Pavel. The goal of this project was to completely change Grisha's view of the world and himself. The team watched every move of the spoiled brat in this new place from their mission control inside the fake wind turbine. Although the project was not a perfect copy of 1860s Russia, Grisha was too unaware of basic Russian history to notice the many things that were out of place around him. When the actors were not performing, they were allowed to visit mission control to relax. Meanwhile, Grisha tried to think logically, but strongly denied the idea of being in the past. Over time, he began to accept his role as a serf. During the next few days, he had to work in the stable with very little sleep and rest. He was given barely edible vegetarian food and had to go to the bathroom outside in the open. One day, Grisha saw Aglaya crying alone. He comforted her, and as they talked, she shared that her father was forcing her to marry an older, wealthy landowner. However, Grisha did not feel sorry for her because he thought that Aglaya marrying someone richer than her father would be good for her future. He told her that after her husband died, she could have all the money for herself. It turned out that this was part of the scriptwriter's plan for Grisha to start a relationship with Aglaya, which would show a serf falling in love with a lady and completely changing his views on life. Sadly, the plan did not work out at all. Tired of eating bad food one day, Grisha stole one of the Lord's chickens. With Artyom's help, Grisha found a saucepan to cook chicken soup and used the feathers to make a nice, comfortable pillow. Sadly, he did not share the chicken soup with Artyom, which frustrated the scriptwriters once again. Later, when Avde noticed the chicken was missing, he gathered all the serfs and demanded that the thief come forward, threatening to punish a random serf if no one confessed. As expected, Grisha did not admit to stealing the chicken, so Avde chose to punish the innocent Artyom. However, Grisha shamelessly watched as Artyom was taken away to be punished. Meanwhile, Pavel grew more impatient and restless because Grisha was not changing his attitude. Later, Artyom confronted Grisha for not confessing to the crime and allowing him to take the blame. However, the unremorseful Grisha replied that he didn't care and that it was Avde who chose to punish him. While they talked, Grisha noticed a village girl named Liza getting off a horse. Surprisingly, as she got down, her modern Victoria's Secret panties were exposed. Grisha made a joke at first, but then he realized he had seen modern panties in an 18th century village. Sensing something was off, he tackled her to the ground, trying to look up her skirt. But before he could, Artyom quickly pulled him off her. Despite this, Grisha still managed to peek under her skirt and noticed that she was not wearing any underwear. It was revealed that Liza cleverly took off her red panties before Grisha could reach them. After the incident, back in the control room, Pavel had enough and decided to shut down the project because he saw no change in his son's behavior. Anna and Arnoldovich tried to persuade him not to end the project, but they were unsuccessful. Meanwhile, observing the reactions of those around him, Grisha suddenly realized he had gone too far. For the first time in his life, he went back to the person he offended to ask for forgiveness. This surprised Pavel, and he agreed to continue the project. From that moment on, Grisha began to build a genuine connection with Liza. Seeing what happened, Arnoldovich suggested changing the story to make Liza the object of Grisha's love. Liza did not like the spoiled brat, but she agreed to help him improve. As time went on, Grisha slowly changed how he thought about life and himself. He often watched the cruel and arrogant Lord's son, Alexei, and started to hate his past. It was revealed that the actor playing Alexei was Liza's real boyfriend, Anton. Meanwhile, the actress playing Aglaya began to feel jealous of Liza, after Liza took her place as the lead actress in the project. So, she convinced Anton that Liza was planning to start an affair with Grisha. One thing led to another, and they ended up having sex. Unfortunately, Liza and Grisha spotted them. Liza felt heartbroken that her boyfriend had cheated on her, while Grisha thought Aglaya and her brother Alexei were having an incestuous affair. That night, Liza was very upset, so to cheer her up, Grisha decorated the stable with candles and cooked her a wonderful dinner. This gesture made Liza really happy. Shortly after, they went outside and slept under the open sky. While looking at the stars, Grisha told Liza about his feelings, and surprisingly, they kissed. Meanwhile, a furious Arnoldovich removed both Aglaya and Alexei from their roles. In revenge, Polina, the actress playing Aglaya, revealed the project to the world. She claimed that a man is being tortured. Soon, the police started investigating the project with Polina's help. With time running out, Arnoldovich and the writers made an emergency plan to change Grisha's attitude once and for all. They planned for the Golden Horde, also known as the Mongols, to invade 19th century Russia. In real history, the Golden Horde was an empire that declined in the 1500s. However, Grisha did not notice this mistake. Soon, the Mongols arrived and kidnapped Liza. But instead of saving her, Grisha went back to being selfish and cowardly and ran away, seemingly ruining the project. However, as he got further away, he realized he had always run from problems and left his loved ones behind. With renewed motivation, he returned to the scene, bravely fought off the invaders, and rescued Liza. The two then rode away on a horse, just before the police arrived to raid the set. Luckily, since Grisha had already left and everyone else were actors, the police assumed the project was a historical film set and left. Elsewhere, Grisha rode his horse for several minutes until he reached a gas station. As expected, he was shocked by the modern world, but before he could understand what was happening, a crew member shot him with a tranquilizer, knocking him out. When he woke up, he was told that he had fallen into a coma for 3 months, and that all his experiences were just hallucinations. Although he had grown as a person, Grisha realized that Liza was never real. Because of this, he fell into depression. One day he met Polina and Anton, the actors who played Aglaya and Alexei, at a club. Seeing how miserable Grisha looked, the actors felt sorry for him and revealed the truth. Hearing this, Grisha became excited and immediately began looking for Liza. Eventually, he found her in a stable, and they had a romantic reunion. On the other hand, Pavel shared his feelings with Anna, and the two got married. The movie ended with another oligarch's son being brought into the village, tricked into believing he had entered feudal Russia. This time Grisha watched as part of the project's team,